Hello, everybody. Welcome to SpyPie Gaming TV. And last year we covered the Steam Next Fest, and this year we're doing the same. Currently, right now, there are 7 days, hundreds of demos, oddities, and live streams, as it says here. This is, as well as it says again, a celebration of upcoming games. There's tons of indie games, as you can see up here at the top. I have plenty of them pulled out for us to look at. Um, but I would just like to say, look at the indies. They're really just good this year. I think a lot of the indie games have done a lot better than they did last year, even. Last year, I thought there were some really interesting games that came out, but this year, well, I think we're in for a real treat, and that's why I really just pulled out all these games. Now, I've gone through and I've kind of picked what I feel like is my favorite. If your game's not on here, don't feel too bad about that. I'm only doing this to kind of compile a bunch of the ones that I think is, well, the coolest ones, the ones that I think caught my attention the most. And honestly, if you want to look this stuff up, just go up, type it into your Google or go onto your Steam and look through these. All these games have demos as well. Most of them, sorry. Most of them have demos. And that means that you can pick out these games, try them out, and see if you like them yourself. I've even been considering downloading a few of the demos for some of these games myself. I've even been considering downloading some of the demos here for myself, and honestly, some of these are really cool. So let's just jump right into it. This is Steam Next Fest. All right, so the first game that I really pulled out that I thought was a very interesting game was Bail or Jail. The main reason was, well, the style. I felt like the style of it was very, I felt very very colorful, very almost comic booky. You know what I mean? And so going through here, they have online PvP, or online co-op, online PvP, single player, full controller support, and this game is essentially, well, it's it's kind of a little bit of a story-driven game. Um, Bail or Jail is an isometric multiplayer game where you take either a human team or a monster team, and you essentially run at each other and try to, well, catch each other before, the humans escape. The monster part of it sounds way more fun than the human part of it, in my opinion. This is the same thing with Evolve. You guys remember, well, I doubt anyone remembers Evolve. That game was all about monsters versus humans, and it was always more fun to play the monsters than the humans, but we'll see how this one turns out. I really am keeping my eye on this one, though, because I like the colorful art style, and I think that's very interesting. Going forward, we have this one here. So this one doesn't actually have a local translation, which means that I don't know exactly the name of it, but I guess it's Sword Tomb. Nonetheless, this game it just looks very fun. Looks very flashy. The main thing that I think looks the coolest about it all is just the way that the game kind of, I don't know, has these animations for attacks. They're just so over the top. Um, and it looks very combat oriented. So like you're gonna definitely need to be focused. This is kind of like Mark of the Ninja, if anyone remembers that game. Um, a very side scroll combat heavy game, which I think should be a whole lot of fun for people who enjoy those types of games, me included. Next, we have Ragdolls Playgrounds, the Sandbox, right? And this is, I believe, more of a. It seems to be a mix of, well, people's playground and Ragdolls. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in a lot of this footage, and I'll kind of put it on screen here, but it just seems so wild. I don't know, and it reminds me of Gary's mod. This is very much so like, put down what you want, do what you want, build what you want, and then destroy it. I think that's a huge appeal for a lot of games. Games don't always have to be complicated. A lot of the times they can just be fun, and a lot of the fun comes from customization. I've spent way too many times playing Tracks, the train game, building, massive trains and rails and whatnot, because honestly, who doesn't like trains? So going forward, we have Quit Today. This is a game, like, once again, I really just like the comic book look to it. This one has more of a plot than some of the other games. Quit Today is a side-scrolling action game around the workplace theme, and you'll figure out what happened, I guess, as it goes along, as it says here. But really, this is kind of just like one of those, walk into work and get it over with kind of days, right? And we've all had those bad bosses, and it looks like there's a lot of robot fighting and stuff like that. But I don't know, this stuff looks kind of interesting. I love the comic book like theme that I've been seeing with a lot of these indie games. I've also seen a lot of Vampire Survivor clones, and I've tried to keep those out of it. But nonetheless, these are I I mean, I just like comic book looking games. I think this is a visually interesting looking game, and I think that, it kind of reminds me of Castle Crashers, another game that I love to play all the time with me and my brother. We sit down and play Castle Crashers for hours. This game is only single player though. I wish that they had a multiplayer mode, or I hope that they add one, because remember that this is released in 2023. That's next year, so maybe by then they can get around to a multiplayer mode, which is absolutely where these games live and die. I like the look of it. I hope it goes far. This game right here caught my attention very quickly. It's called Project Canopy. Project Canopy, it just kind of makes me think Subnautica or No Man's Sky. Very much, find your way in the world. And it's a sci-fi thing too. Sci-fi has always been a huge thing for me, and I hope that this game kind of leans into some of the horror aspects of sci-fi. But we'll get into some of those games later. Um, Nonetheless, Project Canopy is a first-person sci-fi adventure set in an alien jungle planet. Project Canopy is a first-person sci-fi adventure game set in a jungle planet, an alien planet, of course, because it just, I mean, look at it, and it looks awesome. I think it looks spectacular. I like the colors. Like, there's so many colors recently in games, and that's just, it looks great. I hope that it runs well. Some of the footage early on in the clips don't look like they're running too smoothly. That's not too uncommon for a lot of these games, because it's such a large world. But nonetheless, this one's planned to come out in 2022, and honestly, I think I'll probably try it out. This is one of the games I'm thinking about downloading a demo for. So going forward, we have Stay Alive in Dysteria. This is the big one. I think this is the big ticket item here. Online PvP, online co-op, right? And it's a massive world. Like, it looks huge and it looks beautiful. Like, once again, just stunning graphics from these indie developers, really. These are great looking games. This reminds me of like Mad Max. If anyone played the Mad Max game that came out, this just looks like Mad Max. It's just so much combat, though. And of course, it's first person and it's online PvP, which is, I mean, well, I hope that the combat stays pretty floaty. I see a lot of shields, kind of reminds me a little bit of Overwatch in the way that it works, but this seems to be one of those games that's going to be, real time, kind of just hope and win. So join the official server, complete with others. Dysteria has sci-fi FPS setting, of course. Real-time spot events as well. Um, which means that explore main facilities before anyone else does, and you want to basically capture the map, is what I'm understanding. Kind of getting a bit of a tribes feel for all those old gamers out there. Tribes back on like the old Xbox and stuff like that. This kind of just makes me feel a lot more like tribes, especially with the way the laser weapons look. Even though I think they are mining, there seems to be there's housing. You can be able to construct your own houses and bases and whatnot, and it seems to be some PvP, some PvE, but open world combat, and you really just want to get a group together for this. I feel like if this game comes out and and it gets a good enough player base, this will definitely be one of those games that's kind of like, Arma or something like that. Maybe not as well complicated as Arma, but definitely has its level of terrain destruction and overall just fun stuff that comes with like the Battlefield games. It just looks like a fun time. Going forward, we have DeadLink, however, and DeadLink, ooh, I like it. I like it. It's a cyberpunk FPS with roguelike elements, right? So you're the first operative to be recruited into the experimental DeadLink project. Pilot an autonomous combat shell, fighting your way through cramped slumps, twisted labs, grimy warehouses, and sleek office buildings on a mission to thwart the schemes of the most powerful corporations in the world. That sounds like perfect to me. Um, so it's yeah, like I just think they have all these cool, images down here as well. It looks like it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And I like the idea of shells. This kind of reminds me of Warframe in that way, but I would love to see this stuff go just bonkers crazy. And I like the way the guns look. I definitely think all of the combat looks just spectacular. And the loot pops out like it does in Doom, and you have all these, I don't know, just interesting weapons that seem to have different firing patterns and invisibility and stuff like that. It just, I don't know. I get a very strong Warframe Doom feel out of this, and I think that is just great. So now we have the Rewind Factory. The Rewind Factory here, this game is I think it's Portal. I think it's Portal 3. But apparently you'll also have a gun, so you'll be able to shoot stuff. But Portal with a gun sounds like a great time to me. Um, I love these games where they set up just small areas. You don't need an open world for every game. You really don't. So seeing games come out that have, tons of movement, quick pacing, as well as tons of like wall gliding and movement features wrapped in. Puzzle platforming, of course, is always, just something that's going to be fun to play. You want to be able to have a difficult time. It also has an endless mode and a level editor, which I think is going to be just great for this game. A level editor will, extend the playtime for one. As we've all seen with the Steam community, mods come out for these kind of games that just absolutely change the way they play. And the level editor looks phenomenal. I think that it'll be a whole lot of fun. And I think that even if you're just playing this solo, you'll be able to really have a lot of fun with it. Impaler. Okay, so this game here is straight up just Quake, I think. And I think it's slower than Quake on purpose to not be mistaken with Quake. I think this game looks awesome. Like look at all the stuff, the gore, the bones, all the heavy metal influence. It is absolutely time that we see all this coming in, especially after the recent season that came to Stranger Things. I'm looking for some demon slaying, heavy metal rockin', just kill monsters kind of game. Like, I just love the atmosphere. It's so dark and bloomy, and it just looks like a hell of a time. I also like kind of the pixely art kind of thing it has going here. Reminds me of like, old Wolfenstein or Duke Nukem. Honestly, any Quake game, light game, I'm gonna be in it. I love Quake. Everyone who's a big FPS guy, I think, can remember Quake at least. I'd hope. And Quake is, I mean, it's kind of a shell right now, as what it should be. And I like to see single player games come back in this form, and I'd like to see some co-op games take charge in this. There doesn't seem to be any co-op, especially not like on the. It doesn't say anything about co-op, but it does have, bunny hop, strafing, monsters falling. Visuals are definitely here we go. Yeah, visuals and sound, original pixel art inspired by 90s shooters. That is great. And a retro synth metal tracks. That is yes. Like I love that. Let's have some of these games come back. I love these kind of games where things are just crazy. This is the game I'm looking forward to the most, and I'm absolutely going to download the demo. All right, Hands of Necromancy. Yeah, you can kind of tell what I was thinking when I was going through a lot of this list. Halfway through, I just saw a bunch of Doom and Quake games and said, "Oh yeah." Um, Look at that sword and look at the bits, the 3 bits on that guy's face. It's perfect. It looks perfect. So, going into this game here, you're a necromancer, a lone sorcerer who seeks to grow even more powerful and learn new forms of magic. Search for challenges to fight and to hone your wicked craft. Now, everything aside, okay? Put all your predispositions aside. Necromancy's awesome, okay? And like you don't have to convince me. Um and you can't convince me otherwise. So seeing this kind of stuff just looks awesome. I love it. I think it's great. We're getting more of these Doom games. You know what I mean when I say that? Like these old 90s styled, shoot spells. And like they're taking these sorry, and like shoot guns and like they definitely expended this out, right? So now we don't no longer just have to worry about, shitty guns. Like we can actually have fun mechanical weapons, fun spells like they're doing here. Like we can see things that visually could not have been done in these times in these kind of graphics, and that's wonderful. I love to see old styles revisited. A lot of games don't want to do that. They want to move forward, push the barrier. But listen, in the last 10 years, have graphics really changed that much? No. So make a fun game, and this looks like a fun game. It looks very fun, and I'm probably gonna download the demo for this one too. All right, so here it is. Here's the big one, the big ticket item. This is the one that I've seen all over the next fest. This is Metal Hellslinger. This is just Doom. This is just Doom Eternal, but like it looks so much smoother than I thought it would. You always figured that like Doom has the stranglehold on smooth gameplay, but no, apparently not. We have indie developers now who are spending days, weeks, hours perfecting this kind of game designs, and guess what? The game looks it looks fantastic. And the team, the artists behind it, honestly, they're just phenomenal. This game's coming out in 3 months, by the way. Here it is. Planned release date September 15th. This is gonna go on the radar for sure. It says a rhythm FPS where your ability to shoot on the beat will enhance your gameplay. The more in sync you are with the rhythm, the more intense the music will become, and the more destruction you will cause. That is such an interesting concept on top of all of this. It looks floaty, it looks fun, it looks engaging, but it has some of that Crypto the Necro Dancer in it, where you have to be on beat, you have to move with the sound, and that sounds like such an interesting concept to go into, like something that is most of the time just going to be a Doom clone. And no offense to the other games that we just talked about, like I love Doom. But I love to see innovation, and innovation for innovation's sake isn't enough typically. But adding music and the way that you play and dynamically changing from just the music, the way the game interprets your movement from the music, I mean that's something unique. That's definitely a unique to game design, and even though it's been done before, I've never seen it done in an FPS, and I would love to see how it gets done. I'm probably going to download the demo for this as well. All right, now we're going into something that I feel like may just be on my personal wish list and probably no one else's. VergeWorld. This is an awesome looking game. I love this. This reminds me of anyone remember the Star Wars, the Star Wars game on the N64 where you got to fly, the pod racers, and that's what it reminds me of. It's pod racing, guys, and this is awesome. Like I don't know, this tracks my monkey brain right in. It sucks it in. I love to see like pod racing. I don't know, it's so cool and it looks awesome. Like the visuals have this weird kind of like, I don't know, like old Fallout look, while at the same time they retain this desolate wasteland look, and I don't know. Like it's a different thing. It's not just like Fallout or it's not like whatever. This is absolutely pod racing, but it's pod racing with guns. That's awesome. Like who wouldn't love that? I think it's interesting. I'd love to see it. I love space combat games and I love flying planes in any game. So when you give me vehicle combat and that's the main objective while also racing, yeah, I'm in. And I'm gonna download the demo for this. Absolutely. All right. So here's another big ticket item. This is a game that's been recommended by Steam about 150 times, and I officially said, all right, fine, Steam, I'll look into it. This is Frozen Flame, which looks very much like, well, you guys know what it looks like. It looks like Valhalla. That's not a problem though. Like honestly, that's not an issue. We're all looking for that next open world, but the thing is I love the visuals of it. This seems to be more of an MMO as well though. So I'm going to kind of go down here and read some of this as well. So looming over the horizon with a massive silhouette dominating landscape sits the Ice Citadel. It is now captured by the Faceless, being the immense power blighting the lands of Arcana. Now, this just feels like what it should be. Like that's all I think about this is like this is exactly the kind of game it should be. We got a bad boy up in the frozen throne, go get him. And also, you know, survival and friends and a bunch of adventure with an action combat like focus and that is something I'd love to see more in games as well because like Valhalla didn't have combat I liked. And I might be committing heresy by saying that, but it's true. Valhalla's combat didn't intrigue me in any way, but this game, I like it. I like the way it looks, and I like the visuals more than anything. Like Valhalla felt very it feels very drab in comparison almost, and I loved Valhalla. I played the hell out of it, but like this just looks better. I don't know, it just looks better to me. And I like the kind of I mean, like it just has simple houses and stuff like that. It kind of has like a Fortnite vibe as well with the visuals, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think Fortnite looks good and I would like to see this. I mean, online PvP, LAN PvP, co-op, and LAN co-op, which is, I mean, yeah, thanks for supporting LAN. You know, it's having a rough day these years. So yeah, this game looks great. I think this is probably one of those games I might have to wait and try. I don't really see this one being on the horizon for me anytime soon, but definitely this is a big ticket item. I think this is a good looking game, and it comes out fall 2022, which is, I mean, hey, we don't have that long before we get it in our hands. Filthy Animals. Yeah. Now this has my mind going. This is a heist simulator, which, like, alright, for anyone who played Payday 2, that immediately kind of gets in your brain. You're like, okay, so what's going on here? It's not like that. It doesn't seem like that. This seems very, I mean, almost like a cartoon, right? Think kind of back to, kind of think like I don't know, maybe like a Diablo inspired kind of thing. It definitely seems very wacky, like People's Playground, and it doesn't seem to have much other than like you know get in, get out, and fuck around. And that's awesome. Like I love to see that. I love to see games just kind of go like all wild and wacky with a zany idea like robbing a bank. I don't know. It's fun to see a guy in a chicken costume punch a dude. That's just like I don't know. I'm not a hard person to please and I fully understand that. I'm not a hard person to please. This game looks like it's going to be fun. I mean, I'll probably play it with a controller when I play it because I don't like not playing with a controller on a lot of these games. They are very top down and wacky and zany. It kind of just fits with it. 1 to 4 player co-op, which is great. And there seems to be every character has their own like ability and stuff like that. So I definitely think this will be, well, I think it'll be a game for a lot of people to kind of just dip their feet into co-op playing. Like this seems like the kind of game that if you're new or old to the franchise, or new or old to the type of gaming that is co-op playing with a bunch of friends, this is the thing that kind of bridges the gap between all player level skills. It's just so wacky and fun that there's no real problem. The Backrooms World. Okay, so this is all me. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't know if I should necessarily be going into a lot of this, but okay. So I love SCP. For anyone who doesn't know what SCP is, I'm sorry that you haven't experienced life to its fullest and probably get more sleep than I do. Absolutely. But this is going to be a free to play single player or multiplayer game. and it definitely seems to be kind of cool. I like SCP stuff. You don't like it's not that hard to please me with that. So that's it seems to be more of a narrative thing. Um, there's back rooms, and that's it. That's all. Yep. All right. So the next one is Frigato, Shadows of the Caribbean or Caribbean. Um, I mean, look, guys. Captain Jack got freed recently from his legal obligations, and so I think it's time that we smile and laugh and put up our mugs and hoist our sails and start doing some pirate stuff, right? Who doesn't like pirate stuff? I love pirate stuff. Everyone loves pirate stuff. This looks like it's going to be kind of cool, though. It's let's get in genuine about it real quick. This is a stealth game, and that's kind of cool. It seems to be more of a combat stealth as well. You're going to be breaking onto pirate or not pirate ships. You're going to be breaking onto the British Navy ships as a pirate and plundering that booty, you know. And I think that's cool. I like the visuals. I really like the way that it telegraphs your attacks. It has conal effects and whatnot, and you can see line of sight and whatnot as well. So, just like having stealth games still be a thing makes me happy because I feel like a lot of games kind of just push away from stealth anymore and they focus on the action. And I love to see stealth games brought into the main light. And so, this is just a indie developer from what I understand. I don't know if there's a team behind this or if it's just one guy, but hell, I think the game looks fantastic. And more power to him, you know. Captain Jack got freed. So here we go. Here's Benisa Orison. I just butchered the name out of this. I'm sorry to the developer if I butcher your game's name. Companions and cards and stuff like that. This is a deck building, right? This is a deck builder game, and it's roguelite. That's all you really need to know. It looks fun. It looks crazy, wild, and fun. And I like the idea of card building games anyway. I just think they're interesting, and it seems to be I don't know if it's real time necessarily, but it seems to have more real like time involved in it. It kind of reminds me and obviously I mean, we all know that Darkest Dungeon isn't a real-time game, but it has that kind of feel to it where the visuals are very gross and grotesque and vile, and you know you have your character that you take through and you get new cards and you go forward and use those cards in combat to attack, and I think that'll be very interesting to see playing out. I like these kind of games. It has a very Borderlandsy look to it, which is always a plus to me. I love the cell shaded kind of look. I would love to see this game come out sometime soon. I know it comes out in 2022. There's no real like official release date, like a day, but I mean, this looks like it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and the PC specs aren't even that bad. So yeah, have fun with it. All right, so another game that is literally just for me again. This is SCP Secret Files, right? So again, SCP stuff. I think this is awesome. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. If you guys aren't into SCP stuff, I apologize. And there's roles, and you get to do stuff and experience the world, and that's awesome because I love SCP stuff, and I honestly like I'm probably gonna download the demo for this too. So for anyone who's curious as to what Spy's been up to recently, it's a whole lot of not sleeping, Twilight Zone, and SCP stuff and yeah, and like also Stranger Things came out, so I'm real interested in like demons and stuff right now, and I'm having a great time. It's fun, and I'm just I don't know, I'm overwhelmed with all the cool stuff going on in just games, TV, and whatnot, and so I don't know, I kind of want to see this. I want to see what happens, and I'm gonna download this demo as well. So yeah, I give it a thumbs up even before I've played it because SCP stuff. Who cares? It's SCP. All right, next up is another Portal game. Anyway, I think it's okay. Like, I'm not actually complaining because who really doesn't like Portal? If you don't like Portal, I'm sorry. And I've said that a lot, very many generalities again. But I just love all kinds of games. That's just me. If you're not interested in these kind of games, I mean, I get it. But look at it, man. It's Portal. It's a more fun Portal, I think. It looks very visually interesting more than Portal did. Portal was, I mean, it was a masterpiece. So it makes sense that people want to recreate that magic that came into it, but add new features. And I like the orbs and the kind of like the way that it uses its teleportation. It just looks very different. You know, throwing out your globs of hemoglobin and hopefully, you know, reaching where you want to go. I also like the way that everything kind of gets destroyed when you kind of pick it up and whatnot. There's three portals instead of two. Just visually, again, I mean, it's interesting, and I'm gonna download the demo for this whenever it oh, there's not one. That sucks. All right, so there's no demo for this one, guys, but 45 puzzle rooms, 100 head scratching puzzles, a compelling story, fully voiced dialogue, an atmospheric, an atmospheric soundtrack, and of course, the most important part, teleporters. Next up, this isn't an indie developer, okay? I have to just admit that before we get into this. This is Oddworld Sandstorm. This is a recreation of that game. It comes out June 21st. That's 5 days from now for anyone who's really interested in this. I love Oddworld. I never played it, but I've watched so much of it. Like, I don't know. I can't get enough of it. So I'm happy to see that this game's going to get remastered because I mean, man, look at it. Soulstorm, it's awesome. All Oddworld stuff is always interesting to me. I think that, you know, anyone who has even the most or even the lightest cynical outlook into the world can just appreciate this kind of game. And yeah, um, I'll definitely download the demo for this as well. Quetzal. All right. So remember, like I said, sorry if I butcher the name of your game, devs. This game looks, I mean, like very much Super Meat Boy, and that's cool with me. That's 100% all right with me. I love the way that it looks floaty. There seems to be like a, I don't know, like you're able to land on things that would normally kill you, and it's turn advantage into adversity. That is interesting because you actually have a well like a benefit for being risky. Risky gameplay in a lot of these well platformers, you know, they don't really like to do a lot of risk reward kind of stuff. They want to stay very in line with a lot of the what's going on. So seeing something like Super Meat Boy where that game was so punishing, I mean that's just awesome. I love to see this kind of stuff, and this is gonna go on the demo. Like I'm gonna download the demo as well. I think this is interesting. I think it looks beautiful. I love the pink liquids. That all right. Final. That's my final take. I give it 10 out of 10 pink liquids, and yeah. I think I'll see this when it comes out as well. All right. Who remembers the day when couch co-op was a real thing that you would do? I do. Do you? I barely do anymore. Um, couch co-op. It's great. This seems to be one of those games where they're okay. So you're gonna be shooting at each other. Play with 2 to 4 players on local split screen. Quick rounds, easy to jump in and play. Lots of stages and weapons. Customize your character with a variety of hats. TF2 is gonna love that they're doing that. 20 unique stacking modifiers. 4 area based off class movie genres like samurai and western. Good. I like classes and I like weapons and I like stuff and I like game. And so this just looks interesting. I like that it's a small arena. That's already a great thing. Secondly, though, we just don't see any couch co-op games like on the PC. Okay, and it's because a lot of games, like even Borderlands, doesn't add couch co-op for PC, right? You have to go in and actually modify the way that the executable runs to get it to do that. And it's just so much. So I'm happy to see another developer like actually invested in co-op, local co-op for PC, something that has been dead in the water for years and never really was a thing. This is going to probably be a lot of fun for those who, I mean, absolutely want to just wreck their friends. And, you know, especially the buddies of them, they're like, oh, I play on Xbox. And you're like, oh, yeah, I have a couch co op game for you now. You ready? I finally got one. I finally got one. And I'm going to wreck you. Sorry, Jack. I'm trash talking the, the console guys again. All right, so here's a 3D platformer, which is, I mean, look, he's adorable. Okay? Like He just looks adorable. He's fucking cute. He's a little robot guy, and he's, and Bag Boy and Buddy, and that is okay. I'm in. I'm in. I'm already in. It's a 3D platformer. You collect gears, and I'm already in. I'm invested. I am. I'm gonna download the demo for this. Absolutely. This is gonna be the first demo I download. I just love the way he looks. He's cute and adorable, and there's gears everywhere, and there's roly things and people and whatever, and it's awesome. 3D platformers are, well, they've gone the way of the dodo bird recently. We get a few of them here and there, and they're always garbage. But like this one is cute enough that I think it's good. I don't know why, but like when you see something real cute, you're like, all right, I'm down. And there's mushrooms, man. There's mushrooms, and there's like all kind. I don't know. I can't give much more of an much more of an opinion, really. I just I just think the game looks adorable. And that's enough, I think. You don't always have to have a game with all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be every kind of game. I think it looks cute. Misc, a tiny tail. You guys should absolutely try this one out. It's adorable. So next we have Pocket Wheels, and this is actually our last game on today's video. This is Pocket Wheels. Honestly, it looks like to me someone took the idea of Hot Wheels, or if you're, a poor kid, Matchbox, because I mean, I remember Matchbox. Matchbox was great. And so, like, it's just the imagination of a child, and sometimes I get told that I act like a child, and that's absolutely true. And this is just, I don't know, it's imagination run wild as a car game. And I love cars. I love cars. I drive a manual. I love cars. That's one of my other hobbies aside from video games. So I think that it's awesome to see, these kind of games just kind of taking a different route. I love Forza Horizon 5, and 4, and I even went back. I played 2. That's how old I am now, and I feel like I'm getting old, but I'm not. Um, and so I remember playing these games, and I love those types of, run around in a big open map. But this one doesn't have a big open map. It doesn't have all that stuff. It has floaty looking mechanics. It looks like it's not really trying to be anything other than just a fun romp through a little town in your fast little Hot Wheel. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So that has actually been all of the stuff for Steam Next Fest. Next Fest is going on currently, and it goes on until the 20th. It is the 15th of today. You guys will definitely see this tomorrow, so that'll be the 16th. You'll have 4 more days to go try out these demos. I'll be downloading these demos. I'll be playing these games. If I missed one of the games that you guys love, put it down in the comments down below. I'm absolutely willing to check out some of these games. I love to support indie developers, and playing the demos is a great way of showing your interest in these products, the games that they're making. And if you are someone who goes, hey, look, Agent 64 is the game you should try, all right, put it down there and say, Spy, go try that game out, and I will. Thank you all for watching. This has been Spy Pie Gaming TV specifically, and this has been Steam Next Fest. I'll see you all in the next video. Especially after the recent season of especially after the recent up as soon